What is good, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And this I want to talk about what's going on with the overall market and also the impact report that came out for Tesla shareholders. Let me first mention that I am not a financial planner. Make sure you take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. If you deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, Tesla was stuck between 176's resistance and 174 as support for almost the entire day. Keep in mind that if we had lost 173, we could have seen Tesla actually dip quite a bit as we have that gap to fill at 168 if we lost that support. But so far, Tesla has not done that. If anything, it's holding up quite well. And now we're trying to test our 177 200 EMA on the 30 minutes time frame. If we break that, we're going to be looking for a bigger push, even higher. And we could be getting very close to 180 again. So I'm seeing some life on Tesla. Same thing with SPY. We're breaking out of this wedge right over here. I did talk about how you should watch for a breakout. The Monday high is going to be tested. We could even break through this if we continue to go. QQQ is also trying to break out. So we're seeing the market trying to break out. We're seeing Apple breaking 195, Nvidia is pushing towards 1160. The market's trying to push. So I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. I first want to talk a little bit about this impact report that Tesla gave us. Basically, this is going to be very important to understand the fundamentals, which are the building blocks of the company. And I think that understanding this will help you gain more insights on the importance of Tesla and also why Tesla is still a very important company and what their vision is. So their mission is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. That's very important because fossil fuels are limited. And the benefit of having electric cars is, even though they're not entirely clean, they are in essence opening more doors for different means of powering them. So for instance, yes, electric cars do require a lot of carbon and such. They do lead to lots of carbon emissions when it comes to the production mechanisms, but because of economies of scale, they're becoming a lot more efficient at reducing carbon per vehicle. And then as time goes on, you have to remember that the way in which they're powered could still change, because if the car is electric, there are different ways in which electric cars could be powered. It doesn't have to just come from fossil fuels. It could also come from solar energy. You could power it through all sorts of different things. And this opens a gateway that's actually a lot more impactful than solely just using fossil fuel cars. So I think that's very important. And that's why I do think that this is a right step in the right direction, at least for the future. When it comes to climate change, one of the things that Elon Musk has said is that not everyone has to believe in it when it comes to buying a Tesla. You need to know that fossil fuels are limited. We don't have unlimited amounts of oil. It's very limited, and who knows how long it's going to last. But the main concern about that is the fact that it's not going to last forever. That's why it's very important for us to transition away from it. Climate change is another big factor. Whether people want to believe it or not, that's your choice. But I just want to make it very clear that there is science that does back up a lot of these claims about how a lot of what we see from these emissions are getting trapped in our atmosphere, and that does have a big effect on the way in which the Earth is heating and different factors like that. So once again, they're all kinds of alternatives that they're talking about. One of the importance is that Tesla is trying to displace fossil fuel alternatives by designing and manufacturing a fully integrated ecosystem for energy and transportation. So you can see how the battery cells are now kind of like incorporated and connected with energy storage, their EVs and FSD and everything else like that. No pollution in cities. So we can't really promise that in essence, because I believe that there will be pollution for decades, if not centuries to come. But we are trying to kind of limit that. And that's going to be very important with cleaner vehicles, right? That could help improve the air quality, for example. That can improve many different things from industrial smog and such. So that is something worth noting. I believe that there will be pollution in cities for a very, very long time. Of course, it's not going to just end instantly, but by transitioning to EVs, that's a step in the right direction to help limit that. On top of this, there's been a lot of talk about how in 2023 their customers avoided releasing over 20 million metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. Once again, that is a very, very big achievement. And this is not just because of Tesla, but it's also because of the fact that Tesla is going to be influencing other companies to do the same things. So these metric tons are going to be increasing over time, and this is going to be very useful. And there's been a lot of talk about their effects on the environment. So moving forward, they're trying to minimize their environmental footprint. That's one of the most important things. Unlike internal combustion engines, they're trying to decarbonize the manufacturing process and make it a lot more environmentally friendly. That's actually very important. Once again, guys, I'm well aware of the fact that the entire manufacturing process is not necessarily clean, with all the mining that has to be done, with the amount of fossil fuels that are burned, not to mention coal having to be burned to help kind of like process a lot of these different raw materials. But they are trying to improve it, and there is more potential to do so relative to a gas powered car. They're also talking about how they're striving to achieve net zero GHG emissions. So that's what their main goal is. They still have these goals. You guys can see a lot of charts as they're trying to improve. And they're also trying to require less mining and raw material extraction. So that's one of the most important things that we have to be talking about. In order for this to sustain, the way in which we're doing things is not as sustainable. The way in which we are using our resources and other things like this. But when it comes to the way things are basically being used right now, the world has to stop extracting 18 gigatons of fossil fuels every year, and these changes could help them replace at least a lot of that extraction. They're also trying to source sustainable energy, and they're trying to recycle as much as they can by reducing raw materials. So that's actually something important when it comes to their suppliers and outsourcing. On top of this, there's some data that's coming out that's saying in 2023 they supported the recovery of enough battery materials to produce 43,000 Model Y RWD vehicles, which is once again just the beginning of how they're trying to recover different efforts. They're trying to make their not batteries, their factories a lot more efficient. That's very awesome, and I think that this is very important to help reduce energy consumption. And then they're also trying to become a lot more efficient in the process when it comes to sourcing everything. They're trying to generate more electricity than what ends up being consumed. That's the importance of Tesla's different fundamentals. And they're trying to generate even more and use electricity more effectively so that they could, like some people who generate more electricity with Tesla solar could then kind of like store up the energy and even have to resell it to help other people around them. So that's actually something that's very useful. There's also been a lot of talk about how they're reducing water consumption and a bunch of different things. There's all sorts of things coming out about this. There's also talk about how their batteries are very sustainable, designed for 200 plus thousand miles of driving. Once again, very, very awesome for lifetimes. They're going to make their products a lot more affordable as time goes on. There's been a lot of talk about that with the robotaxi event and such. And when we look at the average miles driven, they're actually suitable quite a bit. So look at the average annual miles driven of the Model Y. This is at about 13,768. And basically, customers drive Tesla vehicles more than the average vehicle in the US, suggesting that customers use their Teslas more and more as a primary vehicle. That's actually higher than the average vehicle in the US that's driven. That shows how the Model Y is very much suited. And then their price is actually below the national average. And that's the funny thing because people always say Teslas are expensive, they're this and that. The average prices of cars, and cars are very expensive nowadays, especially when you look at those leases. But I want to make it very clear: average new vehicles are about $47,000. The average Model Y price is about $30,000. That's after federal tax credits and such, and maybe there are additional fees and such, but it still is more affordable when you account for all of that. I saw another study that saw that, so that's something else that's worth noting. And as time goes on, I do believe Tesla will come up with more affordable vehicles. It's just taking time because remember, this EV little transition the world is in is it's not necessarily uh, been happening for a long time. This is a very, very new phase the world is entering. So as time goes on, I do believe EVs will become more affordable. The Model Y RWT is also it basically has less depreciation. That's the first thing that's worth noting. And then also you could see how the costs when it comes to the amount you drive are a lot lower. So you guys can see how you save up on fuel, you save up on different repairs, and a bunch of different things, at least for the most part. Freedom to go anywhere. Well, the only issue with saying that is that yes, there are superchargers, but what's inconvenient is having to recharge them at least if you're in the middle of a trip. So it doesn't offer the same amount of freedom in a way because it does kind of like it could hinder a lot of people's travels because you have to constantly recharge the vehicle. But charging times are capable of getting faster, and there could be more efficient ways of doing so because with all the supercharger sites out there, if people could go on trips, use their Tesla like all day, then recharge it overnight, that's one useful way in which it could be used. In other ways, if you have to charge your Tesla while going on a trip during the daytime, you could still use it all over the world since they do have a lot of these superchargers across the globe, and that's going to be very useful for the people that own Teslas. That's very, very awesome news. The safety scores are very high. Tesla is known as being one of the safest cars on the planet, if not the safest. Despite all the negative headlines about how there are accidents, do not believe them because they tend to be very, very biased. So you could see, based off their safety scores, Teslas are known for having very, very high safety scores, fewer collisions and such. And they're also expanding across different continents, which is actually very, very important. So they are trying to regulate and kind of adhere to a lot of the NHTSA's different regulations and such, and they're still trying to do their best to make things as useful as possible. The driver assist technologies are very useful, very, very good for avoiding accidents. They have very, very high standards for fire safety. So that's something that Tesla's been working on. Even though energy storage products are very, very critical, they have to make it very clear that they continue to test prioritize safety and do things like that to help limit the amount of fires. So if you look at the vehicle fires per billion miles driven, Teslas only have 7.3 versus the US average of about 59.5. That just shows that Teslas, despite all the news that Teslas catch on fire all the time, they're this and that, they're actually 8 times less likely than the US average if you actually look at data. So don't fall for all those very, very biased mainstream articles. They're trying to make reliable energy more affordable, so that's important. And when it comes to the people in the community, you can see their employees are part of the critical mission. So I want to say appreciation and a lot of thanks to all of the employees out there, right? Tesla's not just Elon Musk's company, it's the entire Tesla team's company. It's the entire Tesla team that are working together, and they're a part of this company too. So you have to give them credit. And they're continuing to work to prepare for a more sustainable future. They're receiving a lot of job applications, about 5.9 million in just 2023, a 64% increase relative to 2022. And that just shows a lot of interest in the vision and how it's really driving a lot of people forward. Safety improvement suggestions by employees are also increasing. However, their global work-related injury rate is actually decreasing, which is a very, very good sign. Relative to what we see across the world in the industrial average of 6.96%. As you can see right over here, it's at 2.51, which is actually a big decrease. Not bad whatsoever. They're maintaining high standards for human rights and etc. At least according to their reports, they're trying to once again they do go through these audits to just look at forced labor and if that's going on, and they're actually trying to interfere a lot more with that. That's something that Tesla claims. I know Tesla gets criticism for this, so I personally want to just say that I can't promise you that everything is clean, but there are reports showing that Tesla is working on improving that. So I really hope for the best for that. And once again, they do not source cobalt from child labor or anything like that. That's something else that's worth noting. And beyond Tesla, they're continuing to focus on accelerating the world's transition. So that's actually very, very awesome. So that was very fun to actually look through, very relaxing relative to before. Anyways, hopefully I didn't talk way too fast. I know that was kind of long. Tesla has more upside potential. We're testing our 177 area exactly as I predicted just a few minutes ago. So I'm gonna be looking to see if we could break this and push up to 178. If we break that, then 180 is next. Our support's at 176.5. We'll see how Tesla does. Does it chop here? Does it try to break out more? It does have some potential. SPY is also showing some potential as well. We did end up getting very close to the highs from Monday. We could even try to retest this, even break through them. So we'll be watching to see that. Nvidia is also trying to push higher. We're looking at 1160s resistance. If that breaks, we'll be looking at 1180. We're approaching a new all-time high on Nvidia, looking bullish. QQQ is also approaching 455 exactly as I predicted. Break this, and we'll be looking at 457 as our next target. So watch and see how we end up doing in the 455s. Do we break the Monday high and go up to 457 or not? It is showing some life, in my opinion. Apple's also trying to push up for 195. If we hold above this, I'll be looking at 195.7. So that looks bullish, in my opinion. For a few more, Amazon, it looks to me like it's going to be approaching the 180 area. There's definitely potential for us to go even higher. And I see potential in that. Coinbase is also trying to push higher towards 248. I see potential in this as well, looking very, very bullish, trying to break out very, very nicely. And we also have Meta trying to push up towards resistance around this 479 area. I'm seeing potential in this as well. The whole market's trying to push, guys. GameStop, real quick. If we break past 28, we're bullish. If we lose 25, we're bearish. We're still kind of stuck, but we're showing some life. If AMC holds above where we currently are, 4.8, we're going to be looking for 5 to be tested. If we lose 4.68, we turn bearish, and we're going to fill this gap down here. In my opinion, it's holding up very well. Anyways, that is your summary about the markets. Hopefully, the impact report reading was useful for Tesla's vision to be maintained. And also, I give you guys some technical updates, so I wish for the best for everyone. Have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. And I'll see you guys very soon in just a couple of hours. Thank you for listening, guys, and peace out.